When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's coverage of the Racers Elite Truck League. Tonight, we're at iRacing's virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway as we get tuned up for a brand new campaign here at Maconi Entertainment. Maconi Entertainment is here to bring you action from all types of racing, including the Goat Walker Racing Series, the FLCC, and Fast Fridays. No matter what you're racing, we can bring the action to life. My name is Justin Prince. Alongside the booth for tonight's coverage is Ron Mond, with Christian Hill producing here from America's Home for Racing. Tonight, 105 laps on the docket as these drivers get ready to go racing. Let's take a look at how they will start for tonight. Brandon Sanfilippo will start on the pole, with Andrew Teff will be alongside. That's a look at row number 1. Row number 2 will feature Troy Thomas, and Dennis Kane will start in the 4th position. Brandon Puffenbarger will start alongside Philip Archibald in 6th. Then it's Truth Hoke, followed by Mark Oyser, who will be in the 8th position. Rounding your top 10 is Christopher Pugsley and Blake Davis. Ron.
Then looking outside the top 10 for tonight's race, the list continues on with Alex Teff starting this race in P11. Alongside him will be the 69 truck of Jesse Fox. Right beyond them on row number 7, it will be Terry Fennell. Alongside him will be Timothy Yisbrand on P14, and P15 will be Curtis Ecker. Andrew Schrader will start alongside in P16. Looking right behind them will be Pete Polini in the number 47 truck in 17th, alongside Hoss Beverly in 18th. And then running out our top 20 JP will be Austin Norris and Barry Nelson.
21st tonight goes the way of Darrow Kelly. Kelly starts alongside Frank Chavez. Then it's Chris Gatzel alongside Alan Bergen. Towards the rear of the field, Steve Sizemore start back there along with Sean Donaway. Then it's Kennesley Smith and Robin Young. Dwayne Davis is the last starter entered on the list. That's what top to bottom of tonight's running order. We're just about all set to go racing. We're happy to have you with us for tonight's coverage of Racers Elite, as we will be seeing this coverage for this series throughout its campaign starting next week. Field coming up to the start zone. Green flag is out. We're underway from Charlotte. Clean start for the field as they make their way through 3 and 4. Most of the field already migrating to the blue line. A couple up top like Archibald. But a good start as this field gets itself underway for a brand new campaign officially for the points next week here on.
And we saw a little bit of squirreliness as they head their way off out of 3 and 4. Stalled again for the number 17 truck through 1 and 2. I believe that was Mark Ogier, current now 9th place runner, dropping down out of P8 after that sideways snap through 1 and 2. Side by side still through 3 and 4 throughout a decent chunk of this field. Drivers assigned to pounce while it is still hot. Looking at the weather conditions, pretty perfect night for racing action here. Calm winds, relatively alright humidity with track temperatures looking pretty alright as well. These drivers are saying that now in the early stages of this race. Hey, the track's just about hot and the racing's hot as well.
Yes, it is. Keep in mind, for this series tonight, 65% fuel limit in the trucks. 4 tire sets available in the pit lane. Should see a decent amount of pit stops, actually, here from Charlotte Motor Speedway. These drivers have to think about strategy. Now, when it comes to the series, it's been running for 7 seasons now, Ron. And so far, a grand total of 4 different drivers have gone to win the championship. But the caution is out. We'll talk about it in a moment. We're under yellow as the one of Darrell Kelly has gone around. Kelly with some damage to the front end of their truck.
Yeah, you see that right around that front right tire. The hood crinkled up a little bit. The front end bodywork certainly damaged as well. That was heading off through 1 and 2, trying to get rejoined back. Actually, no, just running on that very bumpy apron as he heads his way down the backstretch. Clearly something sour with that truck as well. As you can see, the other back right side as well, with a little bit of crinkling to it as well. Me needing to load up replay to figure out what happened here to this number 1 truck. I mean, we were seeing them be very squirrely early on in this race, JP, but it was a big amount of drama. They had their way off through the trial, but I think there's a bit more of a story to that. As you can see, the 15 truck with a big augering hit into that inside wall. Let's take a look at another angle of this.
It just snapped loose across the tunnel and right into the path of that 15 truck. That is Kensley Smith.
Poor Kensley Smith, nothing he could have done about that. Look at the 2 truck getting turned into the outside wall in the ensuing stack up. 3 cars getting involved in that incident, 3 trucks with damage, and really all started with that 1 truck with a mega sideways snap all through the turn. I gotta say, JP, I think 3 and 4 here at Charlotte, probably one of the most treacherous bits of oval racing on the entirety of the iRacing platform. You see trucks and stock cars go through there all the time, and it's almost like it is terrifying looking at those racers head their way off through that part of the racetrack. Big bump through there, they have to saw at the wheel to wheel it through that section.
So we're under caution here as we are currently working on a technical issue. We apologize for that. Robin Young, by the way, was also involved in all that stack up. In terms of the incidents, we do have a fast repair available for drivers here tonight. So they do have the opportunity to be able to get repairs done, get their trucks fixed, to be able to keep on racing here tonight. Essentially, this evening's race, they considered it as a free event, as they called it here, where it essentially is an opportunity for drivers to get a chance to tune themselves and get ready for a race like this tonight. 32 drivers were allowed to register, and those 32 are able to put themselves into the field here tonight for this one.
And nice to see a high participation here for this event tonight on Maconi Entertainment. Just looking through that field of trucks, 29 starters in all for this 105-lap-long race that lies ahead. All of them looking to try and grab the checkered flag here. And you brought up the fact they do have a fast repair allotted to them. They do have one and only one fast repair. And for those drivers involved in the drama right now, very early on into this race, it is going to be a very long night that lies ahead for those competitors. As much as it's good to get some overtakes in the early stages of a race like this, it's also good to just have a good truck underneath you. And if you do have to use that fast repair, probably good to use it in the later stages. I think using it around about this point in the race, not a good strategy at all. I think these racers, though, they know that this track is going to be a little bit treacherous. They felt the bumps and the drama and the slides as they negotiate the first few laps under green. So as we're re-racking them and getting ready to rock and roll for the first restart of tonight's race, I gotta wonder if these racers are going to be maybe a bit more calm, cool, and collected in their approach for this restart coming up.
So we are coming up to said restart here. Sanfilippo, one-time series champion, start himself towards the front of this field as the rest of the pack makes its way to the green flag. Tim, two-time back-to-back champion, start next to him in the running order. 98 laps to go here in this field. Coming up to the restart zone. Green flag is out. We're back underway.
Well, look at that inside line getting off to a flyer there. Holy cow.
That was a little bit of squirrely one too from Puffenbarger. But he's so far up 3 positions, up to second. As the field keeping it clean for the most part up front. See a lot of people just electing to stick to the bottom and be able to ride the bottom of the racetrack, save some tire here.
Yeah, save some tire, run that shorter distance, and I feel like the lower down these racers go, it's a bit less hair raising, as that was a driver scraping the wall big time coming out of 3 and 4. I feel like those high sides, especially at this stage of the race, is a yellow coming out yet again.
Caution flag at the speedway. Haas Beverly is the one who goes around. The big Haas Motorsports machine having significant damage to their truck. They're running about 17th position. Apparently contact with Steve Sizemore has seen smoke puff out of their truck.
And you hate to see it doubly so, the fact that it's early on in this race, and also the fact that that is a very nice looking race truck. Sad to see that paint scheme get beat up very early on.
Absolutely. Ross Beverly trying to get caught up to the rest of the field here. Let's take a look at the Maconi Entertainment replay here. Started after some wall contact and right about here.
Oh, contact made with the 8 and into the outside wall. He's going to go popping both rear tires up in the air. That was a big impact as he headed his way off through the tri-oval. More drama being made. That's the 2 and the 13 coming to blows. Second incident we've seen with that Star-Spangled Banner number 2 Miller Light truck. Huge moment heading off through there. The yellow coming out for the second time in this race. And yet again, it's a moment heading through the tri-oval that was really all started with an exit out of 3 and 4. That was a little bit on the hair-raising side, JP. I mentioned how that section of the track was probably going to be a trouble spot for these racers, and I think it's certainly proving to be one, since we've had 2 incidents basically stem as a result of drivers having a terrible exit heading out of that section of the track.
A few people are taking the opportunity to be able to top off on some fuel here. Alex Teft was amongst them, coming down in the 43 truck. See Frank Chavez amongst those also sitting in the pit stall here for a lengthy amount of time. So some of the drivers taking some opportunity to plan out strategy, but as talked about, the series has multiple different campaigns. Next gen cars, Xfinity cars, truck cars, some ARCA championships and Gen 6 championships mixed in. Andrew Teft, who is currently running in 3rd position, back-to-back champion in season 6 and 7. We also have Sanfilippo, who was the season 3 champion, amongst the field runners in this race here tonight. So a lot of established history for these drivers as they look to battle it out at a variety of different circuits here over the next couple of months in this field.
Yeah, the mark of a very good racing driver is being able to conquer all sorts of varied racetracks. Doesn't matter whether it's a track like this, a 1.5 mile, or it could be a super speedway, could be a road course. Hey, who knows? Maybe it could be a dirt track. I know the trucks were always some fun to watch. I remember as a kid, not necessarily a kid, but tuning into the truck races at Eldora that they had a couple of years ago, and that was always so fun to see the trucks run there. Sadly, that event got axed a couple of years later. I think his NASCAR still does not necessarily like Tony Stewart too much, especially some of the stuff that he said over the years. But I always enjoyed watching trucks run on a wide variety of tracks. These trucks can put on some really fun racing. Expecting that here tonight. Expecting that next season here in Racers Elite. But for now, these drivers looking to have some fun to round off this season. The sun's dipping below that horizon. The track slowly but surely starting to cool off, and the racing action set to heat up once again as we're about to get restarted here in a few moments on the back of the field, now taking to their positions. Haven't really seen these racers get into too much of a groove. I think the longest green flag run we've had up to this point has only been about 4 laps. So I wonder if these racers on the second restart of the day, the third start period, will try and settle into a groove and relax to get something moving here in this race. 105 laps is not a short distance at all here at Charlotte. I think these racers want this race to settle into some form of calmness. Now, whether that be controlled chaos, feeling like calmness compared to yellows coming out all the time, we'll just have to wait and see.
So we're coming up to a restart once again. 12 laps complete this time. We're back underway. Sanfilippo with a good launch once more as tipped. Holds on to second. Right now we're trying to battle for second is the better phrasing, with Puffenbarger not having the bottom. There it goes to the 98. So the field sorting itself out. A little bit of wall contact there. Troy Thomas up the hill.
You can tell that was a very close moment with the noise that came out of my mouth. It sounded like I was shivering, and that was a terrifying moment for the 3 truck as he scraped his way out of 1 and 2. Still stuck on that high side as he's side by side with himself and Christopher Pugliese in that number 88 truck. They're still side by side down to 1 and 2 as side by side racing still goes on a little bit farther behind at the front of the field. Sanfilippo looking to try and pull a gap between himself and Andrew Teft. These front 3 trying to break away from the rest of the field, mind you, as look at that mid-pack of trucks. Holy cow, that is pandemonium as they head their way down the backstretch off into 3 and 4.
Some of these drivers still have not been able to get themselves sorted out and calmed down. Weiser, once those on the outside there, also joining in on the fun. Truth Hoke just trying to wrap the inside in that 55. And that's the tough thing around here is you get passes done. Yeah, you can use the outside, be able to pinch down, get some good runs off the corner. But you can only go so far without burning up your tires. These trucks, you have to really finesse them to be able to make some moves.
Yeah, that's a very good word that you bring up there, JP. Finesse. You need to have that sort of delicateness when it comes to balancing the pedals and turning in that steering wheel to try and get the max amount of performance out of these race cars without ending up backing yourself into one of the outside walls around here. It is a very fine line, a razor thin margin that these racers have to run these trucks to try and get the peak pace out of them. It can be done, and that's what makes a really good racer here on these trucks, is finding that fine line, finding that margin, and just being able to ride it lap after lap after lap after lap, completing a whole race with that truck basically on the verge of disaster.
And it leads to some potential sketchy moments, absolutely. Hoke's amongst those that have now moved up the racetrack to get around Dennis Kane. That'll move Hoke inside the top 5, no issue. Now the interesting thing is going to be how long these fuel mileage runs are going to be, because a full run is about 48 laps when it comes to 100% fuel tank. At about 65%, well, you're really pushing the range to maybe around 30 or so. So there's the likelihood it's at least about a 2.5, 3 stopper for the gas tonight, Ron.
Yeah, when we think about the strategy content in this race as well, you know, thinking about the action we've seen up to this point, it's been fantastic to see out there on the racetrack. And with trucks like this, the fate is really much in these drivers' hands when it comes to putting together a good race. But when it comes to the strategy content as well, there is so much that can go well and so much that can go badly. Think of the easy pit mistakes that you can make. Too fast on entry, too fast on exit, too fast down pit lane, period. These trucks, as with most most stock cars, pretty much all stock cars for that matter. No pit limiter, which is a luxury that I, as an open wheel guy on iRacing, take for granted more often than not. When I see these races, I see these racers having to balance that throttle. You know, I talked about a couple of moments ago, bouncing the throttle out there on the racetrack. No, bouncing the throttle on pit lane, that could damage you even more than a slight wall tap. These racers will have to play a dangerous game when it comes to that strategy, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't in terms of how much fuel to put in your car, what sort of tires to take, and when to come down pit lane. And then when you do, you just have to execute, hit your marks perfectly, try not to speed, and try and get a little bit of time out of it as best as you can possibly can. The pit stops truly in a race like this could make or break it for these drivers up and down the grid.
It absolutely can. And it's going to be a true balance for a lot of these competitors throughout the night to think about all those pit stops, to think about keeping it clean. Puffenbarger, meanwhile, still maintains third, starting to lose a little bit of ground here, though, in this. It's all about keeping momentum in that throttle in this package here, too, mind you. We're seeing Puffenbarger last time by fall back by about half a tenth.
And looking at these racers at the front of the field, they were packed in like sardines not terribly long ago, but as it stands presently, they're a little bit spread out compared to what they once were. Saw a moment for Truth Hoke heading out of turn number 1 and 2 as Blake Davis dropping down like a rock. He has had some sort of moment as the caution flag going to come at yet again 23 laps into this race. Let's see what happened for him. Big damage on that 24 truck. He's not even going to run back to pit lane. He's going to tow. So something must have gone cataclysmically wrong for that USPS car.
It's the 24 machine. They're running at about 11th position at the time of the incident. Some conversations on the radio, a few drivers reporting broken trucks. Let's take a look. Right there, contact that swings above the wall and collects several drivers.
Oh, that was a 42 and the 50 involved in all that. I think there may have been some more drivers involved. Oh boy, you can see those drivers having to take evasive maneuvers, ducking down to the infield. Thankfully, at a racetrack like this, it's not grass there, it's just AstroTurf, which is another benefit here running at Charlotte, because you see that contact being made. A massive hit into that outside wall for the 24. The 42 and the 50 getting caught up in all that. You can see the 50 nearly flipping it there. That was a massive impact. That 24 truck really getting sent through the ringer. And I think as we saw that 50 rejoin, yeah, you can see the contact being made. That, I believe, is the 7 truck. They both take a trip into the infield grass. I'm not sure what the deal was for that. The 7 truck got a piece of that drama as the 50 and the 42 rejoined there. And the 47 got a piece of that action as well. What in the world went on with that? It was like one domino fell, and then they just all went down with it.
Sparks a lot of chaos, puts us under the caution flag, and a lot of yellow penalties went flying as a result of some of the damage. Pit stops are underway. Dwayne Davis rolled through the pit lane. Did not stop, in fact. Everybody else came down for at least 4 tires, except for Dennis Kane, who took a quick stop where he went only fuel. So most of the field electing to get some fresh Goodyear Eagles here.
Yeah, and I think it's a good call to try and angle your race towards this strategy that these drivers are. Because, I mean, based off the drama we've seen up to this point, 25 laps into this race, I'm not sure how it breaks down in terms of laps under yellow versus laps under green. But it's been rather 50-50 at best. We have had a decent amount of yellows breaking up this race. Just had our longest green flag run. I think these racers kind of know what their cars are doing. If we still had that green-yellow cycle where these racers really couldn't settle into any form of groove, I think we may not have seen some drivers make that call to come down pit lane for some tires, because they were probably thinking, you know what, I don't really know at the present moment. Now that these drivers have a good idea as to how their race trucks are going to be handling this track here tonight, as that sun continues to dip down and the lights are turning on around here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, I wonder if these racers were like, you know what, I know what my truck needs, and they're like, okay, I'll come in, take 2 tires, take 4 tires, take fuel only, maybe put a little bit of setup adjustment into these trucks. I think now that we had a somewhat long-ish green flag. It was still on the shorter end, mind you, but it was definitely the longest we've had up to this point. I think that was a slight encouragement for these drivers to come down pit lane.
Yes, indeed, and here's your featured paint. Here tonight, this is the 69 machine, Jesse Fox. And he was amongst drivers towards the incident. Backed tonight by Scooters. It says a coffee brand. It's been around since 1998. He drives for Misfit Racing, Ron.
And that is a very nice looking paint scheme. I'll tell you what, if I was doing this broadcast a little bit later on in the evening after waking up, I think I woke up at about 7 o'clock this morning. I'm not a fan of midday naps, so I've been raw dogging the day up to this point, so to speak. If we were doing this broadcast at, let's say, 9:45 Eastern, I'd probably need some of that coffee to get me energetic and boost up for this show. But very nice looking paint scheme there. Scooters, I think that's a funny name, mainly because I like the word Scooters. I think it's very funny, but a very nice looking paint scheme. You can see him firmly up towards the front of the field as we're about to get this race restart here, JP.
All set to get back underway. Green flag is out, back underway. Sanfilippo still controls things with a great restart. Not a great restart of the pack. Several drivers flying around and crash. Truth Holcomb goes the wrong way around, and a good chunk of the field crashes into one.
And I think there were some more dramas. They headed their way off into 1 and 2. Couldn't quite catch the numbers, although I'm pretty sure it was the Zero involved in all that. The Zero being an innocent bystander and all that drama. Is that the 01 truck there? My eyes, I think, failing me for not the first time in the 20 years that I've been on planet Earth. Certainly will not be the last either. Yeah, it's a 01. My apologies there, folks. Hello Kitty car, though. It was hello into the wall with a moment heading through. I think it may have been the car currently on the outside of him that was involved in that big stack up down into the turn and ended up getting spun. It was a lot of drama there, so I think the 01 and the 48 trucks, very similar shades of pinkish purple magenta. Oh no, I was never really great in art class as a kid. I think those two may have got a piece of the drama as well as they headed their way off into 1 and 2, but a huge stack up going to bring out the 4th yellow of this race with 28 laps on the board.
More chaos yet again, striking this field here to put us under the yellow flag. So pure chaos continues to strike, and strike big, as here's an arrow look at the replay.
As you can see, that 5 missed the shift. The 99, my apologies, had to go down to the AC Delco 55, and more stacking up going on behind trying to avoid that drama. There you can see the Hershey's 92 getting hit by the 00. Multiple drivers. Here comes the 48 back up onto the track. Nothing the 01 could have done there. Small little tap. It's actually a big tap, and around goes the 01. The 48 also spinning, synchronized spinning going on there, and more contact being made involving that 48 truck spinning around the track wildly. Smoke getting picked up into the air, bodywork flying as well. It's a test of our producer's graphics card and a test of some of these racers' patience as well.
Absolutely, and Puffbarger just got the cause of caution. So they'll drop to the end of the longest line per the race control report, as to be expected here. So there goes their track position after having a good start to the race. Not so much anymore.
And that shows you how quickly an advantage like that could just be wiped away. Blink, there it goes. So the 5 having to drop down through the field. I'm sure we'll see him make a comeback, potentially. Being in the spot that he was in the earlier stages of this race, I'm not really sure if Brandon Puffenbarger knows what sort of race car he has in the dirty air. Once you go a little bit farther back, the characteristics of a car that's leading, once you put him back down in, let's just say, 15th place in the mid-pack involved in all the chaos, then you're going to really see what sort of race truck is truly underneath that. You could have a truck come alive once again to clean air, and then you could have a truck that gets involved in dirty air and ends up like a fish in a wind tunnel. Just does not go well.
Field doubling up for the restart here. Again, this series kicking off officially next week with the Family Traditions RV Rentals Fixed Truck Series. where these drivers will be racing to start things off at Auto Club Speedway in the Sunset Race. Then it's Texas, Talladega, RP, Rockingham, followed by a road course race at the Chicago Street Course, Stafford, Richmond, New Hampshire Motor Speedway before a 4-race chase with Iowa, Charlotte, Kansas, and 5 flags, interesting enough, rounding out the championship competition. Here's a look at that schedule officially. So these drivers will be racing all the way through to October in the quest to try and win a championship at Racers Elite.
And looking through that schedule, we will be coming back to Charlotte, albeit it's quite some time before we go back there. So I gotta wonder what these racers' mindsets will be heading into this race, because we will have a break in the iRacing seasons as well. We'll be in Season 4 by the time we get back to that, so who knows what sort of updates iRacing has cooking up for the trucks. These trucks could be handling completely different come time for then, but fantastic schedules to look forward to, and a fantastic race to look forward to here for the rest of the night. Here we come back to green.
Green flag is out. We're back underway. Sanfilippo's led them all so far here tonight. Keeps it up as the middle of the field gets racing. Alex Tipp now moving his way forward on a 2-tire call earlier after a fuel stop. The rest of the field getting racy as Ecker makes the moves.
And you can see these racers, they are feeling a little bit impatient after the green-yellow cycle in the first 31 laps. They're getting really racy. Look at that dive up the track from the 17. He saw that 8 on the inside and was like, oh, you know what, I'm not gonna risk it. I'm not gonna worry about it. Dives up the track a little bit to try and avoid any sort of contact. They had their way through the quad oval side by side throughout the vast majority of this field, and side by side up towards the front as well. That's the 69 truck, the feature paint scheme right on the inside of the 8, who scraped the wall big time, coming out 1 and 2.
Well, it is a sketchy moment there for that 8 machine of Ecker. He's trying to attack Jesse Fox as these drivers slowly start to separate out, despite staying a bit of a draft lock. Not too much of it right now here around Charlotte. And that's the one thing around this track is the field in the long run will get the chance to separate. Right now, they're having a hard time doing so. A bit of a scrape to the wall.
But you can see these racers, the aggression is really starting to flare up at this present moment. It's fantastic from our perspective here in the commentary booth, JP. But for these racers, I think they're a little bit terrified. I can't necessarily blame them. Look at that. They nearly fanned out 3 wide, heading their way out of 3 and 4 side by side. Look at the 17 truck trying to make something work on the high side, on the outside of that number 69 of Jesse Fox. He's got to try and get the move done. Marco Ozier running right in front of these racers as well. And let's see how it's going to work out for them. Some sideways snaps a little bit farther in the back. Driver dropping down. That's Andrew Schrader, who had mega sideways coming out of the turn, but thankfully keeps it going in a straight line. These racers really having their handling difficulties now that we're getting into another long-ish green flag run. Starting to see the characteristics of these race trucks really start to make themselves prevalent.
Absolutely, some of these drivers really battling with their machines. Others having a comfortable time, like Sanfilippo and Tipp in terms of your front 2. Looking like some of the others really want to just keep on progressing forward, don't want to just ride in the dirty air. Mark Ozier is amongst those who's pushing the issue here to try and use the outside to his advantage. We talked about the ability to do that in 1 and 2. It uses up some tire, but it does get some nice passes down.
See him still. This side-by-side racing at the front is absolutely fantastic to see. The 08 and the 8, that's not confusing at all. They head their way off through the turn, and look at that. Dennis Kane maybe gonna try and stick it 3 wide as well. Look at him in the 4 truck right behind. Currently slotted in 8th. This is a battle for these racers trying to break their way inside of the top 6, and maybe even look at a move on Alex Tipp in the not too far off future. He's a final truck locked inside the top 5 presently. 37 coming to 38 laps on the board, as here comes that 4 truck trying to make it 3 wide through turn 3.
Kane taking a moment. Now remember, he is on 4 tires now. He came down the next sequence, took the tires. Bit of a checkup though, allowed them all in a line. So Kane does have that slight imbalance, just seems to be having a hard time sticking the line here, Ron. He is a bit wobbly so far.
Yeah, a little bit wobbly. I feel like a lot of these racers have a big wobble on going on at the present moment. You got some trucks that seem to be handling about as well as a freshly set bowl of Jello. As you can see, that's running off the track for the 48, heading off through the tri-oval. Not sure if that's the best strategy. A pass in the grass may have worked well for Dale Earnhardt, but passing the AstroTurf just doesn't have the same ring to it. Side by side with the 08 trying to stick it down the inside of the 8. Look at that, a wall scrape from the 8. That alien green car on the outside, still trying to hold his own and remain in P6. That's Curtis Ecker looking to try and make something work on the inside of him now is Steve Sizemore. Side by side between these two, that 4 of Dennis Kane still right there within striking distances. Look at the 69 truck, Jesse Fox, with a big moment all through the quad oval.
That's the background, but bit of a slide up in the battle of the 8 trucks. Sizemore able to block things off, cover up the top of the racetrack as Kane shuffles back to the line as well. Now last year, the championship came down to essentially 2 drivers, for those wondering. Andrew Teft ended up getting the championship, as talked about. Blair Hoyman was also in the conversation on total points, ended up being tied in that overall championship in a decider at Michigan. Some of the drivers that competed in that, Truth Hoke and Robbie Ost, also had true shots to battle it out for the title last season. Now, this season, a chance for a reset, a chance to be able to add yourself to the championship list here with so many different returning champions in series history, Ron.
Yes, star-studded grid, and these racers looking to try and prove themselves to be the top running driver here in this series. And this is a good shot to flex your muscles. This is the prototypical NASCAR track. It is the original intermediate as far as I'm concerned. Opened all the way back in 1960. This track has history baked into every single square inch of it, whether it be in the world of NASCAR, whether it be the checkered history of IMSA running around here as well. That's a story for another day. This track is absolutely beloved in the world of American auto racing, and these racers looking to try and have a good night here as side by side with the 48 and the 8. That right there is a fight involving Andrew Schrader and Curtis Ecker. That number 8 truck dropping down like a stone thrown into a pond as of recent. Not sure what's turned off with him. Maybe as we've gotten a little bit farther into this run, he's burned up his stuff in the earlier stages, and now he's starting to feel the struggle. He skates up yet again through 4. He's now got to feel some pressure from Sean Dunaway in the 0-1 truck down the inside. The Hello Kitty car looking to meow his way up into P9 side by side through 1 and 2 as the yellow's coming out.
Caution flag back out on the speedway, and more incidents starting to pile up here. So more yellow flags here as the entire field will have to check back up, coming to 61 laps to go. Pete Polini, as Mutzel's towed off, not sure where the caution trigger came from there.
And not exactly sure what the deal is there, but I will say here, JP, that probably completed the longest green flag run we've had up to this point here tonight. And I wonder, now that we have more experience, these drivers have more experience in terms of how their trucks are handling, will we see some stops of brew here in this yellow as we take a look to see that moment? Holy cow, it was a 22 and the 92 with a huge moment all through the quad oval.
Some errors getting involved there too. Yeah, snap of looseness is Brand. And that collects Beverly for a second incident on the night. Yeah, Beverly just snapped loose from that hard door slam and a half right back into the path of the 92.
Oh, and that was a sledgehammer hit into the outside wall for the both of them. The 92, that was a huge hit on both sides. First backed it in, then that front end of the truck whipped around, slapped that wall. Huge damage. You can see the auxiliary contact as well as the one truck barreling in like a bat out of hell. He is very lucky the fact that that truck isn't destroyed. I'm sure there's got to be some sort of damage on it. There's no way you can get away with contact like that and be totally scot-free, A-OK, and ready to rock and roll for the rest of this race. But as I kind of expected, we are seeing a lot of drivers make that run to come down pit lane.
More pit stops with people thinking about fuel mileage here. That will be 11th on back here for the restart. For those who just pit, a lot of people also taking a set of tires for good measure. And this is now going to be for everybody here that just came through. Quite simply about a one-stopper to the end run.
Yeah, so one more pit stop, which is a bit of a lift of pressure off of these racers. I talked about the challenges of the pit strategy a little bit earlier on in this broadcast. I will still contend that in a race like this, pit strategy can be the biggest gainer for some drivers and the biggest loss for some of these drivers as well. Thankfully, though, with only one pit stop left, it will be a bit of pressure off these racers, but you still gotta wonder, when do you make that call to come down pit lane? Do you try and stretch this stint out for as long as you can, or do you try and go for the opposite, make it a long run all the way through to the end of this race and potentially risk running into some difficulties? Green-white checkers are allotted. I believe it's only 2 attempts, though, so you can try and have your cake and eat it, too, when it comes to something like that. Have a somewhat early-ish stop, and then try and make your way to get to the end of the race. Either in regulation, either we get to the end of that 105 lap, or we do have those green-white checkers. I think there is a small window in which these racers would be able to, from their pit stop during this yellow, be able to make it to the end, even if we do have 2 overtime yellows. So I wonder if these racers maybe can angle themselves a bit more towards that strategy, just to pit early and be there at the end.
So we're quickly approaching halfway in this race. Your most spots gained on the screen. Sean Dunaway is your biggest mover, up 18 spots so far tonight. Science Sports up 14. Right now, Dunaway is in about the 8th position for the upcoming restart here. So San Filippo continuing to control things, meanwhile up front. The San Filippo Solutions still controlling things for the restart. Green flag is out, back it away. Clean launch, clean run once again for the 12, just maintaining every lap led so far.
Yeah, a commanding restart for that number 12 truck, back in a familiar position. However, we've got some challenges right now for the podium spots. Look at these racers as they squabble up, heading down that backstretch, off into 3 and 4. Who's going to try and get the moves done? Look at that 3 truck on the inside, the 48 on the outside, that 43 home. Oh, no! That's a 48 with a big slide. He held on to it, though.
That was a little bit sketchy. A big save and some apologies on the radio. Some of these drivers really pushing the issue as we still see side by side Troy Davis, Alex Tepp still keeping the outside. Thomas we've seen scrape the wall a couple times, and the Austin Hardware and Supply truck just maintaining the blue line for the corner exit.
As they still battle like it's the last lap of the race, heading their way off through the quad oval. It's a fight involving Thomas and Teft for that final podium spot, and they're really battling hard as they head their way off into 1 and 2. The 3 truck not really able to build up that momentum. The 43, on the other hand, is that 98, given the draft to his brother, I believe. I think they're brothers, I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to get confirmation about that, but either way, they share a last name and they share the high side. That 98 truck doing everything in his power to block that 3, heading all through the turn, and then it's allowing Dunaway to really get involved in this battle as well. Look at that 01 truck. Maybe gonna try and split the difference and make it 3 wide with these racers. Maybe if there's enough of a trip up a slide from the 43 down into 1 and 2. As much as he's got the brother of the driver that he's currently battling with, really giving him a bit of a headache. Hasn't really worked that too well for him. He's still there within striking distance, trying to find any way to get past.
Still trying to sort themselves out here and figure out who's going to get an advantage, who's going to be able to get the edge in this situation. Teft making a 2-3 for the family members up towards the front of the field here, as this will put us at halfway this time by here at the stripe. And the question is going to be where the rest of these drivers slice and dice their strategy, because there's only so many tire sets, obviously. We know these drivers have to go the full length of the run, essentially, Ron, to make sure they're good to go on the fuel window.
Yeah, these racers have a marathon stint in front of them to try and make it to the end of this race comfortably, and let's see who will be able to tackle that marathon the best and who's maybe going to wash out a little bit. Let's just wait and see. It is still a very long race that these drivers have to tackle here tonight, but we are getting ever so closer to that halfway mark. I believe we're actually past it now. So these racers, they're switching their attention from the drama at the start to the drama that may go on at the finish. The real question is what that drama may be. Is it strategy drama? Will it be yellow drama? If these racers have some more restarts coming up, how can they angle themselves the best to try and be good on those restarts? A side by side between Dunaway and the 43 truck of Alex Teff down the stretch, and booking around the outside goes that 01 of Sean Dunaway. Jumps into the final podium spot. These racers giving us a good battle to talk about. I will say Brandon Sanfilippo at the front of the field, as much as his nearly half second gap between himself and Andrew Teft, it's one of the biggest gaps we've seen up to this point here in this race, in that battle for the lead. It's also, it feels rather tight compared to the domination we've seen up to this point.
Yeah, they're still keeping within range of the leader, but the leader with all the caution flags hasn't had to deal with strategy, hasn't had to deal with lap traffic. It's had too many issues in that regard. Dunaway doing a good job of the march forward yet again, though. Mark Oizer liking to be different. And that's the thing I've noticed with the 17. Likes to search for clean air a fair bit, doesn't like to do status quo.
Yeah, hey, sometimes switching it up, remixing it a teeny tiny bit and trying to figure out if it'll work can work out well. Those mixed up strategies, there's either two ways they end. You either end up looking like a genius or you end up looking like a fool. And hey, if you can make yourself look like a genius more often than not, you're certainly not going to say no to a different strategy. So let's see how these racers will be able to make the end of this race look. 49 laps now left to go, as here comes the 17. Maybe trying to look something on the 3. He swaps sides, heading his way at a turn number 2. He broke his ankles out of the turn, swapping sides like he's flipping burgers down into turn number 3 and 4. Look at Ogier in that 17 truck trying to find any way in the book to break his way into the top 5, but that's not going to help out his cause one bit.
Just hit the wall, and that's going to cost him some ground. Look who's made their way back up to the field from the cause of caution from earlier. Puffenbarger, very swiftly making some moves here around the outside. Puffenbarger, one of the fastest trucks on the racetrack right now, running the same pace as the leader.
And on that fight back up after we saw him have to drop down to the rear not terribly long ago here in this race, he's here and he's here to fight, breaking his way up into P6. Let's see how that charge will go for him now, as a couple more spots to go before we can really start thinking about grabbing the race lead or getting into the spot that he was in at one point in time. So you can see a bit of a wall tap there. I think, unless I'm very much mistaken, that was the 4 of Dennis Kane with the moment, heading his way out of turn number 2, hits the wall on the outside, keeps it rolling. However, I'm starting to see these moments pile up more and more, getting longer on into this run. The handling on these trucks starting to go down. I'm not sure how the track conditions are looking at the present moment when it comes to temperature, but I'm sure it is a heck of a lot cooler than it was at the drop of the green flag. Actually, no, looking pretty all right still. Ambient dropping down a little bit. Track temperature, I think a little bit higher than it actually was right before the drop of the green flag. I think these racers running around this track in anger, though, might be skewing that number just a teeny tiny bit, but the point remains that we may end up seeing an evolution in the way these race trucks are handling that 5 just as quick as ever. Saw him running solidly inside the top 5 a little bit earlier on, and now he's trying to look to go back where he once belonged.
All trying to figure out their respective situations here. Right now, the top 9, by the way, have broken away from the rest of the field by at least more than a second in terms of their average pace, as we are about halfway through the fuel run. Hearing somebody already coming in this time by, interesting enough. That was the 7, Austin Norris, that just called over everybody else. Maintaining, trying to sort themselves out here. So, Pit road execution going to be important. We're on that entry to pit road. Likely coming up here for a lot of these drivers. That entry going to be a bit difficult with that pit wall.
Yeah, that pit wall and the pit attenuator that you find with it, those sand barrels, I mean, they're not necessarily forgiving in real life, but in the sim, they're basically a giant black hole. Once you get stuck in them, there is no escaping. I have hit some of those barrels myself and have been stuck. It's jolted my car enough where it pops me up in the air, and I'm pretty sure I broke the sound barrier and damn near hit the moon. So these racers do not want to repeat what I did. Hey, it's a very good reason why they're behind the wheel and I'm behind the microphone. They want to try and avoid any sort of mistakes that they can as they head their way down to the pits here in the not too far off future, side by side between the 43 and the 43 and the 3. That's for P4 in this race. I nearly said the 5, but the 5 is the one we're following right now. And because of that brief little blip of side-by-side racing action going on right in front involving Teft and Thomas, it's now Puffenbarger again involved in that battle here in the not too far off future. He is closing in. If we listen very carefully underneath the V8 rumble of these NASCAR trucks, we can start to hear the Jaws theme begin to play.
Slowly just chipping away, going da-da, da-da, in terms of that. But up front for the lead, it's side by side. Sanfilippo has lost the inside. Teft alongside, caution. Caution flag is out. And it's an incident 1 and 2. Chris Gatzel and Alan Bergen have gone around. And the caution comes at the right time for the 12.
What a clumsy moment. Oh, okay. I got the jump scare of my life as I saw that pace truck there. Hearing as well, our producer got a jump scare for that as well. I was like, oh no. Oh, there's the pace truck. But the 707 car nearly got phone there as well as he tried to goose the throttle, trying to get rejoined on the racetrack. Some damage on that car as well. That pace truck, that is absolutely terrifying for me. It's too similar. I mean, granted, it is a behemoth compared to these NASCAR trucks. It just looks a bit too similar. I'm like looking at that and getting jump scares every single time I see that thing jolt around like a UFO. But here was the moment that brought out yet another yellow here in this race. It's side by side between the 00 and the 707 off into the turn. The 00 gets a little bit loose on the high side and bang, huge hits for the both of them.
Got some heavy contact as a result. And now puts us right back to the caution flag again at a bit of an awkward time for the field for pit service. Then right here, just gasses it up, tries to get back going, gets stuck on the banking. Pace truck zooms on through, and the 707 gets the cause of caution.
Yeah, but you brought up a good point there, JP, talking about how it's a rather awkward time for these racers. What are they going to do? Are they going to come in this time by, or are they maybe going to bank on the possibility of there being a potential stack up on this upcoming restart and saying, you know what, I'm going to stay out, place all of my chips into the card that we may end up seeing a yellow come out yet again, and then make that call to come down pit lane. And we saw it earlier on in this race. Yellows can breed yellows. I wonder, though, if that is the right strategy to try and play. It's a bit of a gamble, if we are being completely honest, to bet on there being a yellow right after this restart. Doubly so, considering we're coming off the back of the longest green flag run we have had up to this point here in this race, or at least one of the longest we've seen up to this point here in this race, that is. So I wonder if that is just too bold of a strategy for these racers to really try and go for, if we're going to see everybody say, you know what, I'm going to try and risk it for the biscuit. Let's just wait and see once it's a bit more settled down in terms of being able to make it to the end. Playing that fuel game towards the end, it is such a hopeless position to be in at the end of something like this.
Yeah, a bit of a tough situation for a lot of these drivers to try and really sort themselves out here on strategy, but it's going to be the important thing now on execution. For a lot of these teams, going to be very tight on the mileages in theory here, as a lot of wave around trucks. Alex Teft took the lead. He had an 8-second pit stop, so a lot of drivers not electing to take their tire sets here. Sean Dunaway also had a 10-second stop. Teft was the first driver on 4. Sanfilippo, for the first time all night, will be in traffic in 5th.
So as we see these drivers begin to pack up, I gotta wonder what sort of tension is building between these racers as well. This has been a scrappy and very exciting race to follow, mind you, but it has certainly been one that has maybe ruffled the feathers of some racers up and down the grid. Let's see how they'll be able to do on this restart that we have coming up. We're getting to crunch time here in this race as well. Just going to be 37 laps left to go in regulation. Of course, we do have those 2 green-white checkered attempts allotted to these competitors. The possibility of another yellow coming out maybe going to help these drivers strategy-wise, but we still have to worry about a whole lot. These racers still have to worry about a lot throughout the rest of this race. It may be just a plain Jane regular old restart. There's a lot riding on the next few laps that follow.
37 laps to determine things here. Let's find out what happens now with the strategy mix-ups. Green flags out, back it away. Some big gaps in the field. But the rest of the field sorting itself pretty quickly. Sanfilippo having some technical issues. That's not good for him. Leaves a big gap on the field for a split second. But everyone else remains okay as the Toyota leads in front.
And that's a 42 and the 15 coming to blows out of turn number 2. Oh no! Upside down, big hits for all of these racers. A 27 up in the fence. The 707 tumbled as well. Huge hits as they had their way down the backstretch. And yellow coming out again, just as I expected. Yellow breeds yellows, but also breeded 2 flips out of that.
Absolute calamity sparking up, as Pugsley has already towed and taken responsibility over the radio. Well, this is going to help with the fuel mileage game a little bit. A lot of fuel saving coming up from this one. Let's take a look.
All started with a slight wiggle from the 42 midway through turn number 2. Drifts down the track, hits that 15, and in the stacking up that followed, he actually knows a 42, not really holding the brakes there, if I'm being completely honest. The 707 truck getting caught out and all that. The 92, though, bang, into the front end of that 27. Upside down he goes. That is a huge moment for all of those racers. 27, though, not the only driver with a wild ride involved in all that. The 707 had a pretty major impact here as well, as the 42 drifted down the track backwards as a result of that moment, heading onto the backstretch. Let's follow him in his perspective. He nearly ended up in the infield. Let's see contact being made, hits the fence, and oh, that is a horrendous impact there for the 707. You can see the 42 gets T-boned as well by the 7. Very happy that we're in the sim instead of real life, because thankfully, we still have the driver of the 707 with us. If we were running this race in real life and saw an impact like that, JP, I think we would probably have to read out an obituary on the air instead of talking about some pit stops that may be coming up.
My goodness, is all you can really say to that, and obviously some pit stops underway for some of those involved in the incident. A few fast repairs, a few of them already burning them up from earlier incidents like the 707. But as expected here, a lot of people are clutch and coasting as we speak here around the racetrack. Everybody trying to save as much fuel as they can with how tight the margins are going to be for the end of this race on the fuel mileage run.
Yeah, so the fuel mileage game going to be one that is played at the end of this race. Who's going to gamble, though, is a real question that I've got going on all throughout this field. The chances of at least one driver not deciding, you know what, I'm going to try and risk it. I just want to get into a better spot, and ending up risking it towards the end of the race. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We'll just have to wait and see if anyone decides to go for it. Here's another feature paint scheme that we got here. The AC Delco car, the 55 of Truth Hoke. And you know what? I'm going to share a rather interesting story I have relating to AC Delco. My father used to work at a repair shop in my neck of the woods here, just around the city of Philadelphia, and there's an old AC Delco sign in this repair shop that had been around for years. It was part of an old gas station that they ended up turning into a convenience store for part of it. But regardless, there's an old AC Delco sign that I want to fix up, and I want to clean it off because it was just this beautiful looking thing. Very, very nice metal, high quality stuff. It was just a little bit dirty, and tried cleaning it up, and some of the paint ended up dissolving and smudging around, which made me very, very sad. But a very nice looking AC Delco scheme. I'm definitely a little bit biased because I'm a fan of blue, but you know, I like seeing some older sponsors. When you think of kind of 90s and 2000s NASCAR, you kind of think of AC Delco. So very nice to see what looks like an old school paint scheme running out here at this track.
Not bad of a paint scheme, absolutely. Tough thing's going to be having to drive up from 17th position. They did top off on fuel, though, to be able to try and extend this run. The estimated window is still 2 to 3 laps away with the green light on fuel. But 33 laps to go at the stripe. Green flag is out, we're backing away. Good restart by the Tefts again, as Dunaway holds on to the outside.
And that inside line just getting off to some fantastic restarts here tonight. It's certainly the advantageous position to be in here at the end of this. That's a 17 truck. It's getting a little bit wide, heading off through 1 and 2. Thankfully, keeps it out of the wall. Everyone keeps it out of the wall, in fact, as they head their way off down the backstretch, off into 3 and 4. Let's see how these racers at the front of the field may try and battle. Look at the 5, a little bit squirrely there. The 17, though, he's up on the fence big time, going ground to a halt. I wonder if that'll cause a stack up that maybe causes another yellow to come as we remain green now. 32 laps left to go. Teft still leads. It's actually a Teft 1-2 with Alex in front of Andrew.
Here he goes, trying to take the peak, though. Remember, he's on fresh tires. Alex is not. Andrew wants the lead. He'll take the lead. No major clutch and coasting right now for a lot of these drivers at the moment. If anything, no one's trying to uberly aggressively save interest enough. Still 31 laps to go. It's going to get interesting on the mileage. Look who's in second with all this. Andrew Schroeder has jumped up to second, the highest they've run.
You know, as I'm seeing these racers not necessarily play that fuel-saving game, I think that's the right strategy content to try and run. You know, we've seen so many yellows up to this point that I really think there's probably the high risk of another one coming. As you can see, some major banging. That, I believe, was Frank Chavez in the 13 truck with a mega sideways snap, heading his way out of turns number 1 and 2 side by side between Teft and Schroeder. That 48 truck, he's peaking at the right time. He's on the outside of your race leader. They fan out 3 wide a little bit farther in the back, but as the side-by-side battling continues to flare up at the front, look at Parfenbarger maybe trying to get involved in that fight as well.
A little bit too high up the hill for the 48. Parfenbarger following the draft to the Ford in front meanwhile. 2 Toyotas and a Ford, battling for position with under 30 laps to work with. Schroeder forced to lift out of the gas. That forces Andrew Teft down. A little bit of a nervous moment, some apologies on the radio.
As you can see, the 48 and the 5 nearly bump drafting each other off through the turn. That 5 car really starting to risk it for the biscuit. You can see now the 48 swapping down to the inside the 98 truck as they head their way through the quad oval off into 1 and 2. That's some real dicey stuff between these two. Look at that 48 truck on the inside line, squirreling up a little bit, not getting a good exit at all. Here comes a 5 truck on the high side now, trying to make something work as they head their way down the backstretch off into 3 and 4. Tap though, and that 98 truck still being the Pied Piper of this field, trying to dictate who exactly gets a run and who doesn't. That 5 car though, both of them really squirrely heading out of the turn. Teft is still holding on to that race lead, and he's enjoying this battle right behind, but as long as he isn't at the epicenter of it himself, he'll still enjoy the side-by-side racing with the 5 and the 48.
There goes the 5, able to make the pass, no issue once again. So Puffenbarger holding on to second, now looking for the lead immediately. He's been working at this all night, good speed, good consistency. And now, coming to 26 laps to go, Puffenbarger looking to take some lead laps. Can he get the wraparound for the high side? He isn't going to squeeze. He's got a lot of space off the corner. Puffenbarger to the lead.
And here we go. It's still not over yet as they had their way side by side down into 3 and 4. Look at the dive from the 98. The 5 got to keep that momentum rolling on the high side. And look at the 48. Maybe got to try and get involved in this battle once again as well. 26. Now 25 left to go here at Charlotte as the 5 and the 98 still battling tooth and nail. That 5 of Puffenbarger, as much as he had the speed to draw along side by side, he's still not able to clear him just yet as they had their way down the backstretch. He finally clears them through the 98, sneaking back in the drift. Here comes the 48 now peeking out to try and get a move done down the inside, heading off into 3 and 4.
Trying to get the slide down. Made a bit of contact. That was a little bit sketchy, and that was kept back through. These drivers are pushing hard, Ron, to say the very least. They aren't driving like they're close on fuel here.
Yeah, no, they are not necessarily worried about the fuel, and I mean, I can't necessarily blame them. If I was involved in a Titanic battle, I wouldn't really be worrying about my fuel gauge either, but it's still something that has to be running in the back of these drivers' minds. They're probably all gunning on either a late pit stop or hoping that yellow comes out for some drama a little bit farther in the back. The drama's at the front of the field, though. Here comes the 12 of San Filippo, the longtime race leader from this race, trying to get a move done. The 48 of Schrader. They had their way through turns number 1 and 2. That 48 truck gonna keep a whole head of speed on the outside, gonna blow his doors off. They had their way down the backstretch. The 12 of Brandon Sanfilippo gonna have to try and rethink about how to get that move done, and that was some racing going on involving the 3 and the 4 right behind. They're currently slotted 5 and 6, and hoping not to have any sort of drama as well to bring out the 7th or 8th yellow this race.
And Sanfilippo, we know, loves to be able to lead, loves to be able to control things. Seems to be taking his time to march on forward after losing all those spots down pit road with the different strategies going on. Mind you, some of those who took the no tires, like Alex Tept, have dropped all the way down to 15th position. Sanfilippo just feeling things out, it looks like. How would you get this pass done at this point? It looks like Sanfilippo having to take a lot of time to get it done.
Yeah, I feel like that 12 truck, as soon as he got back into the dirty air, not really able to position his truck exactly where he wants to in the 48, not necessarily letting him either. Oh, that could have ended in disaster as they had their way down into 3 and 4. That 12 truck really starting to struggle on that inside line. If it were me personally, I would maybe try and back out of it because you're not really able to get that move done on the inside as they nearly touch and bang again, exiting the quad oval down into 1 and 2. It's bad enough he can't really get the move done, doubly so considering that 3 of Troy Thomas is right there within striking distance. Now getting to the back of the 48, the 12 needs to get this move done down the inside now, otherwise he may find himself falling completely outside the top 5.
Oh, and he's getting very sketchy, is Schroeder. He might have burned up his tires here pushing. All over the racetrack and losing some ground. That top line not working out at all now for the 48 with how hard he's been pushing up the hillside. All the way back to 5th, so a plus 11 for him on the race from where he originally started. And that's the tough thing about this tire model is you anchor those tires, you aren't getting the tire pressure back. They're not as sensitive as they are like they are in the Cup cars now. But these truck tires still require you to keep wear preferably as low as possible.
Yeah, you gotta make sure those tires are friends with you all throughout a run. Even if you get them a little bit angry, you gotta buy them more than a box of chocolates to get them back on your side, as that was a big moment there. Adding out of 1 and 2, and now it's the 48 of Schrader on the outside of the 4 of Dennis Kane, trying to make something work there down the inside. Not able to get that move done is the 4, but we're really starting to see those struggles begin to pile up. There's certain cars here on the iRacing platform, oval and road course, that once you overheat the tires, you'll really start to see competitors drop down like a rock. And speaking of, we got drivers dropping down as the yellows come out. I think it's for Curtis Ecker in the 8 truck. Oh, that's what happened.
Upside down and flipping over. And this takes away the fuel mileage potential possibilities here. He had been battling for 8th. Him, Jesse Fox, Barry Nelson involved.
Just going to say it was the 69 truck of Jesse Fox that was also dropping down like a stone thrown into a pond, but the 8 skidding. He managed to get it back righted on the wheels, and after tumbling about 3 times, I think it was, heading through turns number 1 and 2, now back on all fours, heading off through 3 and 4. I mean, granted, that car was probably very angry and very sad, and oh, that is an interesting replay to take a look at. Let's take a look at what caused that car to be wall riding. I think Martin Truex Jr. did something very similar to that. Oh, it was 3 trucks stacking up through into the turn. Yeah, that 69 truck at the epicenter of all that, the 196 on that inside. The double L, that was the 0-1. I think that truck may have gotten a piece of that drama as well, but the 8 with a wild ride off into the wall, skidding to a halt, down the banking, and then tumbles yet again. You can see it's a 96 skating a little bit, but no, you can see it was the 196 right behind. Got a little bit of sideways snap. Netcode may be playing a factor in that incident as well. Spence's 69 into the outside, into the 8, rides against the wall, and at that point it's pretty much game, set, match. I mean, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that for the 8 truck, that's not how you do a wall ride.
And that will spark everybody down pit road as a result of that incident. Pit stop strategy underway. Steve Sizemore just won the race on pit road with a 6-second top off. Not sure if there was a speed penalty or not, though, because he let Troy Thomas go on a 10-second stop. A lot of people going to be limited now on sets. Hearing that one driver, Davis, got an end-of-line penalty as well, so a lot of these drivers going to be squeezing their tires, sets the life out of them at this point here, Ron. Some people have sets, some don't.
Yeah, no, I think I've said this on the air before, but I feel like a lot of truth is said in just these cars towards the end, especially if they are on very old tires, they will be skating around like a declawed cat climbing up an igloo. I do not envy the position that these racers will be in the slightest. Gonna be a very rough end to this race. They're gonna have to try and find grip where there really isn't any, but hey, they want to try and get that track position. We'll just have to wait and see if that gain is going to be worth enough. Me personally, I feel like I would probably want tires right at the end of this, because with the lights out on the pace truck, I believe we'll be getting this race restarted with 13 laps left to go. Lucky number 13 laps left to go. So hey, we do have an incident that brings out another yellow. A restart with 13 laps left to go. Can't necessarily say it would be entirely unexpected, but if we do have a completely green run all the way through to the fall of the checkered flag, I feel like that tire advantage may end up helping those racers who did take tires as a result of all that. Either way, though, there's so much to worry about here at the end of this race. I'm not really sure what is going to be the greatest foe for some of these racers. Will it be will it just be trying to get some moves done? Will it be the drama at the end of this race and these drivers really going for some moves that are a bit on the aggressive end? There's a lot at risk, and there's a lot of things that may go down here on this restart. I'm not sure what will be the falling anvils to look out for.
So 13 laps to go when we hit the stripe here. It's Puffenbarger and Andrew Tilt up front. Brandon Sanfilippo alongside Andrew Schroeder. Kane Zakelli are amongst your top 6 here. So let's find out how this is going to go for these competitors here. Puffenbarger showed speed as of late. Sanfilippo was the dominant driver early. Tempt is led as well. Green flag is out, back and away. Puffenbarger getting clear as the rest of the field battles for second. Sanfilippo retaking it, the 98. Immediately dropping down to 4th.
And you can see that 48 with a very aggressive move, heading off through 1 and 2 on that restart. 3 wide, a little bit farther in the back. Here comes a 12, though. Sanfilippo trying to make some of the work on the inside of Puffenbarger.
Oh, hearing there's some incidents at the back of the field. No caution. We stay green. They're now wrecking in the back. Haas Beverly, Truth Hoke just piled up. Several others collecting according to Troy Thomas. And it puts us back under yellow.
And yet again, The lucky number 13 strikes again, but now these racers have another reset on their hands. It was looking pretty sketchy there for the 5 right before that yellow came out. He had some pressure from the 12, and then the 12 started dropping down like a stone thrown into a pond. Then the 48 of Andrew Schroeder really got involved in that battling as well. We're going to take a look at a replay to see the drama that brought out yet another yellow here in this race involving the likes of the 00 car, the 13 and the 55. But this is another moment for these racers where they really have to reset their brains and try and tackle another restart.
Start up front with Oyster involved in that one, and then they really piled up here for the caution trigger. 22 into the 55, and up the track they go.
Another huge hit for the 22. Oh no. Okay, so we thought it was going to happen with the pit stops, and it didn't because we didn't have any green flag runs down pit lane. But the 17 became the first and so far only driver tonight, I believe, to end up striking those sand barrels. You know how I said they're like a black hole in some instances? Well, in that case, it was kind of like a white dwarf star hit it, and it just looked like that car slammed straight into a brick wall.
Cause of caution is the 22. Yeah. 22 sent it deep on the 17. Sent the 17 to the wall, and it caused absolute calamity. Haas Beverly not happy on the radio, as that's going to bring us under 10 laps to go.
Yeah, so really getting into crunch time. Let's take a look at the moment. Bang! Oh, the 3 truck. Nothing he could have done as a result of all that. That 17 hit those sand barrels and pretty much stopped on a dime as a result of all that. The other 3 truck, major damage on that car as well. Lots of drivers ending up with some war wounds at the end of this race. I think we're also starting to see the point where some competitors are running out of faster pairs, so we may end up seeing some cars rejoin and restart this race looking like hoop-de-rods ready for the scrap heap instead of anything else. But it's been a dramatic one up to this point, and with a restart that will set to be getting this race back underway with, at the very most, 9 laps left to go. You know how I mentioned how pressure-packed this restart we had coming up was going to be? You can take that, throw it out the window directly into a shredder, and then throw that shredder right into a wood chipper.
Interesting metaphor, to say the very least. But it's going to be a 9-lap dash. Again, Puffenbarger still in control. Schroeder up to second for the restart, it looks like. Sanfilippo start to the inside with Teft on the outside in row 2. Kane and Alex Teft round out the top 6. Mind you, there is a time limit if it comes down to a bunch of caution flags. There's still 37 minutes to go on said time limit. So we should be able to, as long as we keep it clean here, get to the end of this race. So let's find out how this is about to fare out for these competitors. What's your prediction, Ron?
Pandemonium, I would say, is probably my short prediction, but no, I think these racers will be squabbling up about as excitedly as they have done, if not even more so excitedly than they have done throughout this race. We saw before that latest yellow came out to neutralize this race yet again how much battling was going on. Saw the 12 go for a dive on the 5, saw the 48 really starting to make some moves. I think this restart is gonna be hectic. Let's see how it rolls.
Here we go, green flag is out, back it away, 9 laps to work with, and the rides machine takes their ride up to the front. Battle is on for second as there goes Sanfilippo taking the spot.
See contact maybe potentially being made involving the 98 and the 48 as they headed their way off through the turn. Thought I was going to see something go on there. Thankfully, it ends clean. They're still side by side down the backstretch off into turn number 3. And for that 48 truck, we saw him come alive on the second lap after that restart. As long as he can stay alive, though, we may see end up him getting some moves done here soon. Gets a draft from the 12. Nearly ends up sideswiping the 98. This battle at the front, as much as it's pandemonium behind, I think these front 4 are really starting to dicey as, oh, look at that, there goes the 48.
Caution flag is out again after that spin. And into the wall they go. So that boiled over. Andrew Schroeder going around on that one, I believe. Schroeder avoided contact for damage. The 48 still going.
Yeah, so the 48, thankfully, with no major damage as a result of all that. I thought we were going to see a blowover. That truck picked up some airtime as he got turned. I just knew, seeing how that was going on the first lap after that restart, that something had to boil over. Those racers were battling so hard, racing each other so aggressively, that I just figured something had to go. And let's take a look at this moment here involving the 48. The 98 scraping up the track a little bit. The 12 runs wide and nearly ends up on the wall as the 48 tries to cut down a little bit, potentially eyeballing a move. Around he goes, and you can see that huge airtime that 48 truck picked up as a result of all that. Very lucky he is still in this race and not upside down, skidding to a halt on his roof down the backstretch. And very lucky as well to keep it out of the wall. You can see that little breakout in the wall is the only reason why that 48 car still looking somewhat factory fresh. It was a wall tap there for sure, but doesn't even look like he picked up a paint chip as a result of all that. Man, I gotta wonder what that paint is on that 48 truck, because there is virtually nothing done to that truck, even with the wall rub. It wasn't the hardest hit in the world, but that truck has got to be made out of like something made out of the strength of tungsten and also the lightness of carbon fiber.
Schroeder did pop the motor on the pace lap, however, so Andrew Schroeder did pick up some damage, and you see it right there. He's popped the motor.
And there's the commentator's jinx for me.
Yeah, was pacing around. Looked okay, and then boom, right here, pops it.
Oh, and yeah, there's the wall contact that finally put some body damage on that race car. Now, I said a couple of moments ago that the bodywork seemed to be made out of tungsten, with the strength of tungsten, the lightness of carbon fiber. I'm not sure whether that engine was just made out of plastic, tin, whether or not he accidentally put milk in that car's gas tank instead of gasoline. Not too sure what the deal was. That looks rather catastrophic of a engine pop heading off through the turn, but yeah. Not a good way to end the race for the 48. Checkers or wreckers. Unfortunately, it's wreckers and also checkers for that team's ability to go through this race without blowing a motor.
So this will set up a 3-lap dash. We've already seen your prediction pandemonium come true here, Ron. How do you try and win this if you're Sanfilippo?
For the 12, I gotta see something from that race car that makes it seem like it's coming back alive. If it were me, if I could pick what sort of line, I would go for the outside, and that's exactly what's going on with the 12. The good spot to be in, as much as that inside line has been getting off to the flyers thus far in the restarts thus far in this race, that 12 just needed a little bit of clean air on the nose of that truck to be able to really power their way up to the north end of the field and get back into a spot that's rather familiar for that 12 truck. We saw domination earlier on in this race for Sanfilippo. Haven't really seen that though drop down a bit, and hasn't really we haven't really seen the same spark out of that 12 team. Now, however, as I knock my hand into the microphone stand, hopefully that did get picked up on the broadcast, but I will want to see that 12 just have that same fire and anger that we saw in the early stages of this race. You don't need to throw everything in the kitchen sink at it. Just get a little bit of clean air on the nose of that car and see if it comes back alive. If not, I think the 5 will probably be the one to look at. Dark Horse, though, the teammate of the 5, the 4 right behind.
So let's find out how the Mars trucks should say, find their way to flight to victory lane. So we're coming up to the restart here. It's Puffenbarger at Sanfilippo. 4 laps or so to decide it here. Green flag is out. And Puffenbarger, great restart. Sanfilippo still trying to clear for second. Doesn't have the run.
That's not the sort of restart I want to see there for the 12. As much as the outside line has not been able to get off to flyers at all throughout this race, I was expecting a little bit more than that. He's now got to fight on the inside, but once that 4 truck, if he gets in front of the 12, I would say it's just about game, set, match for the Mars team. You'll have the lead driver and rear gunner. But look at that, it looks like a pace lap as they head their way through the turn. Wall tap a little bit farther behind. That's a big stack up involving the 13 of Frank Chavez, I believe. But as they head their way down into turn number 1 and 2 for the last times in this race, I think we've seen the 12 shake off the challenge from before, the 4 dropping down, more wall tapping going on behind. It's now a fight at the front.
Kensley Smith, who's been in the back all day after the first crash of the day, now joining in on the fun with 2 laps to go. Single file for the top 3. Couple more times around from Charlotte.
And with 2 to go, these drivers have 3 miles to try and settle their differences. But I think for Buffenbarger, the one thing that you want to see is that white flag lap. You get there and you'll be golden. Wall scraping, big contact going on as they head their way down the backstretch. San Felipe's there, though. We have to wonder if that 12 truck will finally be able to come back to life and get a move done. So white flags in the air.
Final time around here on Maconi Entertainment here in Racers Elite. Will Sanfilippo be able to get to the bumper? It's down to under a truck length. Puffenbarger getting loose. Down the back straightaway, Sanfilippo tries to build the run. Last time he had a chance, he took the bump. This time, he waits behind the bumper, trying to take the air off the spoiler. All with the rear end of Puffenbarger. The 5 walks up the track, it doesn't matter. Puffenbarger wins it.
And what a drive there from the 5, going to the back of the field a little bit earlier on in this race and was able to fight back, put on a charge. At the end of it, he's going to grab the checkered flag, the 12. Not sure if that's a celebratory bumper. He's a little bit unhappy with that 5 driver, but either way, good stuff for the both of them. I would have been a little bit disgruntled if we saw that 12 really try and boot him out of the way, but it's that 5 truck of Brandon Puffenbarger winning this race at the end of it all. A beautiful drive from start to finish, was able to fight back from adversity and withstand some drama right towards the end. It was not an easy run through to the end of this race, had to deal with some restarts, and this burnout he's going to have here in a couple of moments was certainly well earned.
It's celebration time for Brandon Puffenbarger. So Puffenbarger tonight led 26 laps on the way to tonight's checker flag here on Maconi Entertainment.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back to Maconi Entertainment for tonight's coverage of the Racers Elite Truck League as we continue on with our coverage here from iRacing's Virtual Charlotte. Overall, 29 drivers entered tonight's race, and in the very end, it was Brandon Puffenbarger who took the win over Brandon Sanfilippo, Sean Dunaway in 3rd. Kensley Smith and Curtis Ecker, the top 5, with Dennis Kane in 6th, Alex Tepp in 7th, Steve Sizemore, Alan Bergen, along with Troy Thomas, your top 10.
Then looking through the rest of the field, we've got Jesse Fox, classed in P11. Had some pace throughout this race, but ends out just barely outside the top 10. It'll be Daryl Zuccarelli finishing this race in P12 in front of Frank Chavez in P13, fittingly in the number 13 truck. Barry Nelson, with a wild ride throughout this race, will finish in 14th in front of Austin Norris in the 7 truck in 15th. Andrew Teft in P16. Andrew Schrader will finish this race in 17th in front of Truth Hoke, finishing in P18. The rest of these racers running into some difficulties. It includes the 17 truck of Mark Ogier, the number 22 truck of Hoss Beverly, rounding out your top 20. And looking right behind them, a lot of these racers running into some major difficulties. A 24 of Blake Davis, a 27 of Dwayne Davis. Right behind them will be the 707 of Chris Gaxel in P23. Christopher Pugliese will finish this race in 24th. And from Timothy Yisband in P25, Robin Young in 26th, Pete Polini in 27th, Terry Fennell in 28th, with Philip Archibald rounding out your 29 cars that are classified at the end of this race. JP, an absolutely barn-burning race here at Charlotte, but one man was able to grab the victory at the end of it all. We got some podium finishers here to talk to.
Yes, indeed. Brandon Puffenbarger gets the race done with a victory. Brandon, how does it feel to get the win here tonight?
Pretty good. I haven't been in the trucks in a long time, so just glad to know I can still run the trucks pretty well.
Talk to us about the battle between you, Sanfilippo, and some of the others here tonight to battle for this race win.
Yeah, it was super clean. I race with those guys a lot. Andrew and me, I've always been clean. I've always been clean with Brandon. So there's like a lot of mutual respect and trust there that we can run side by side, hard, inches off each other. So yeah, that's a lot of fun.
So you ran the truck here tonight. The series officially gets underway next week. Are you running the official series?
I am not.
Okay. So on that note, anyone to give a shout out to here for this run tonight?
Just Andrew for letting me come over here and run this. Everybody for coming out. You guys for putting on the show. I'm looking forward to watching it back. So that's about it.
Congratulations on the win here tonight, Brandon.
Thank you.
Brandon Puffenbarger enters the race here tonight, gets the win. Brandon Sanfilippo is withdrawn.
And Brandon, welcome here into the broadcast booth. P2 at the end of this 105 lap long race here at Charlotte, a race that featured just about everything for you. So how was it out there here tonight?
It felt really good. I think it just came down to, how you enter the turns, how you exit for, how you tire save there. There was a couple decent runs that we had that really helped. I was really hoping for a long run at the end before that stretch of cautions came out. I felt like I saved tires pretty well. I was catching Andrew and Brandon there up at the front a little bit, but my specialty is definitely not shootouts, but definitely I guess came in my favor tonight.
I mean, hey, P2 at the end of a wild one here at Charlotte. I'm sure you will not turn that down one bit. But we're looking ahead for the other season here in Racers Elite. Are you going to be out here in the trucks this upcoming season? If so, what are your thoughts heading off into the new season?
Yes, I am. Love the truck series. Looking forward to it this year. A lot of returning drivers, a lot of new drivers. It's a really respectful crowd. It's a lot of fun. Looking forward to the Maconi setups that we're using as well. That was definitely fun tonight. It really created a well-balanced truck that I think can be run low, mid, high, and definitely had a loose aspect to it, which was really nice. So looking forward to that, especially on I would say a more focused short track series that we have for this season. And short tracks definitely aren't my specialty, but I'm hoping to grow a little bit in that area.
And really looking forward to seeing all of the action here from this upcoming season on Maconi Entertainment. And thank you as well for the other shout out of Maconi Setup Shop. Head on off to MaconiSetupShop.com to get the exact same setups that these racers are running here. But Brandon, we'll let you give any thanks or shouts out before we let you go and celebrate this P2.
Yeah, just you guys for putting on a heck of a broadcast. Maconi Setup Shops for, like you said, for the setups that we used. Andrew for putting on the league, all the racers out there tonight, everybody who's tuning in, all my family and friends, and I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
And thank you as well for joining us here in the commentary booth, Brandon. Looking forward to seeing you out on track next season.
Appreciate it.
Once again, that's Brandon Sanfilippo in the second spot. Sean Dunaway comes away in third tonight. Sean, talk to us about your race as you ended up charging up 23 spots.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Decided to start in the back just to kind of get a feel for tonight. And yeah, it was very treacherous in the back there for a while. Definitely ran into the occasional wrecks there. At least only a couple of them. Luckily, I never had to use a fast repair or anything and didn't have to fix up my car really. It was a little dented on the left side, which apparently made it a lot easier to turn in. I felt pretty gripped up most of the race there. Then I tried the 2-tire stop at one point when I was all the way up to like P4, I think. That was a bad idea. I dropped back, I think all the way down to P12 again, but luckily another caution came out. I was able to put 4 on again and yeah, make my way back up to P3 there.
So, overall, how are you feeling about the new season coming up for the trucks next week?
Feeling pretty good if we can make our way all the way from the back, all the way back up to the podium here. So, pretty exciting. Yeah, definitely next time I'll probably have to qualify so I don't get wrecked out. Get those points for sure. But tonight was kind of just test run for me. Kind of see, the limits, what I could do there. So it was fun.
What's your approach going to be when we go racing at Auto Club next week?
Yeah, actually qualify. Try to run, top 5, starting at least for the season, and then just trying to get those top 5s and hopefully a win for this season.
Any shout you'd like to give here tonight?
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to thank my wife, my mom and stepdad for always watching, and then my cats for always trying to ruin my race here.
Congratulations on the run.
Thank you.
It's Ken and Sean Dunaway rounding out the interviews here tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for taking time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. Your final thoughts on this one, Ron, as we get ready for the new season getting underway next week?
Well, there were certain points during that race where it was certainly hectic, certainly chaotic. Had some drivers end up upside down throughout this race as well. But speaking of upside down, this race was turned upside down throughout a decent chunk of it as well. These drivers had to be on their toes throughout this race. It was absolutely awesome to see from my perspective in the commentary booth. Amazing to call as well. And looking ahead to this upcoming season, there is a heck of a lot of action to look forward to here from the Racers Elite Truck Series here on Maconi Entertainment. I'm personally looking forward to it. I think there is a fantastic season of racing action ahead.
And we'll all see that here on Maconi Entertainment starting next week. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye and thank you for tuning in for tonight's coverage of Racers Elite. Calling the action tonight was myself, Justin Prince, alongside Ron Mont. Christian Hill was producing. Thanks to our viewers for watching tonight's racing action. Hope you stay tuned to all our social media pages for next race. Thanks to the entire staff for their work in bringing this racing to you. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment. We'll see you next time.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.